or a couple of minutes late. Just before we get started and to make sure that everyone's on, can I get you to unmute your mic real quick? We have a smaller room this morning before more people join. Do you mind just unmuting your mic and introducing yourself real quick before we get in? You only have 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Okay.
You're
All right. Can I go on?
Yes.
Yeah. My name is Laja Shoniro. I'm a management consultant, but I'm an AI enthusiast. So I'm very much interested in technology, and I'm here to learn.
Awesome.
Tokumbo is my sister, so I'm also rooting for her. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mr. Laja. I'm an AI enthusiast as well, so great to meet you. Aminat Sulaiman, do you want to unmute yourself real quick? 30 seconds, what you do?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Sulaiman Aminat. I'm a lecturer, a librarian, so I'm proud to be here. I want to learn.
All
I
right.
want to learn and unlearn. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Did you say you're based in Liberia?
Yes, I'm a librarian.
Fantastic.
I'm a certified librarian.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. Adelabu Mobology, guessing that's a mister. Please unmute your mic and quickly just tell us what you do. Okay, if you can't talk, that's fine. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Mobolaji. I'm a student of software engineering, level. So I'm there to learn as well too. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Did you say you're a student?
I'm a student of software engineering level. Okay. Yes, I'll tell you so.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you have Olubo Wale? Can you unmute yourself and just quick introduction?
Thank you. Good morning. Olubo Wale Oluwasonya. I'm a business owner. I play in the cybersecurity space. I'm here to support Prince Andu, all the initiatives you're doing, and to my dear sister as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. And now I recognize that voice. So great to have you in the room again, sir.
Thank you.
Someone's on Techno BF6. I'm guessing that's not your name, but Techno.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Ifelua, and I'm a student. I'm a master student at UI. So I just want to learn about tech and see how I can change my career path. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
All right. Good morning. Thank you very much. Thank you. Lastly, Temitope Fabi. Do you want to do a quick introduction? 30 seconds.
Okay, hi, good morning, everyone. So my name is Temitope Fabi. I've been working for quite some time in finance. So I recently just transitioned to data analysis, data science. So I'm trying to secure a job. I have my skills already. So I'm working on project and trying to secure a job. So I joined this meeting. Thank you.
Oh, great stuff. Thank you very much, Temitope. All right, we will get started because of time. I want to make sure that we have enough time for questions at the end of today's session. It will be an hour as usual. So I would just like to introduce our speaker today. I introduced last week briefly. Her name is Olatokunbo Shunowa. She's the visionary consultant that's on a mission to empower ethnic minorities in assessing jobs and career opportunities across both the private and public sector. Now, she has a steadfast dedication to fostering equitable opportunities where she's based. She has emerged as a pioneering force in the recruitment industry and is the founder and principal consultant at Succitco Limited. She has established herself as a trusted advisor and advocate for underrepresented communities. Olatokunbo's journey into recruitment consultancy was catalyzed during the pandemic, where she witnessed firsthand the disproportionate impact the pandemic had on ethnic minorities. Now, she's been motivated by compassion and a drive to effect change. And as a result, she has resolved to take action through a business and a consultancy. Now, she has 15 years of experience in recruitment, coupled with a master's degree in human resources. So you're in good hands this morning as we look at career and we look at career development and securing global employment for tech geeks and what are the key requirements that you have to look at. Last week we talked about, the space, what it has and how you can get in there, what sort of roles are available. Our speaker did a great job talking about business analyst, data scientist, and the tech coders, and he did a good job helping to differentiate between the technical job and also the non-technical side of IT. And he reminded us that technology is a part of our lives for as long as it is right now. So there's no run away from it, but there are also a lot of jobs in this space as well. So without further ado, let me bring Ms. Tokumbo Shonowa as she talks today about securing global employment and what the key requirements are. Welcome, Ms. Tokumbo.
Thank you very much, Sheo, and good morning, everyone. Just by way of a quick recap, I just wanted to remind the people that didn't attend the workshop last week, Saturday, that they have the privilege of watching the recording, so that would kind of give them that background and foundation. So what am I going to be talking about today? I'm going to be talking about the key requirements for securing employment for tech gigs. And the agenda this morning, we're going to cover bear with me. Okay, so we're going to cover the job description, and someone will be thinking, why job description? But I'll let you know. We're going to cover the checklist. We're going to cover the CV content, good and bad career summary. We're going to cover letter and then interview tips. Because we have a lot of ground to cover, I'm going to kind of dive straight in so that we can give you time to ask questions. So job description, why is it important for people who are securing employment in the very various tech roles that we have? Engineer Popola actually spoke about the entry criteria and also that you need to know the job. You need to be sure that the tech role that you're applying for is suitable for you. You have the necessary skills and the experience to do it. So what does the job description or the job profile, as you may call it, what does it allow you to do? It obviously allows you to know the job responsibilities, the qualifications that that is needed, your expectation. And some people would look at the job description and the first thing they will look at is the salary. You can see from the list that I've provided there that salary is actually number 6. But it's so important for you to, one, check the job title, because sometimes you just looking at the job title, you would decide that, oh, this role is not for you. But no, the job title varies from organization to organization. So it's so important for you to read the content of the job description. What are the responsibilities? The duties, are you able to do 6 out of 10? Are you able to do 7 out of 10? The qualifications. What is the hiring manager or the recruiter asking for in this space? do you have the necessary skills and the experience to do this particular role? So at this point, you'll be saying to yourself, if I can do this, then let me read further. But if I can't, if I don't have the necessary skills or indeed the transferable skills to do this role, then should I be looking for something different? What's the company's information? Is there a reporting structure? What is the application process? What is it that they're asking me to do? Am I providing just a CV and a cover letter? Am I providing statement of suitability or a personal statement? What exactly are they asking me to do? This is the reason why a job description is very important, because it allows you to really self-examine the experience and the criteria that you're bringing in. Do you want to proceed with this role? That's the importance of a job description, and it's key. And then, so for people who already are in roles and they have a CV, once you then, for example, the person who wants to transition to another role, the reason why a checklist is very important is you already have a CV, and then you are looking at a new job description, or you want to apply either for promotion or for you have a new job description. You then need to do a review of your old CV. And why are you doing that? It's for completeness. You want to write all the criteria that the hiring manager or the job description is asking you for. Do you have the necessary skills? Like I said, if you don't, this is the time for you to manipulate the content of your old CV. For people who don't have a CV, this is where you start to list the things, like the things that the hiring manager or the recruiter is wanting in that job description. So you're listing the essential criteria, for example. You're listing the who is the kind of person, the person spec. What is it that they're asking that this person should have? What are the technical skills that you need to have? You start to list this as a checklist, and then you compare it with your old CV, and then you do a review. And here is when you start to manipulate the content of your CV so that it is relevant to the job that you're trying to apply for. You have to remember, not one CV fit all. You have to look at the job description and then try and align your key essential criteria, your personal statement, whatever it is. You need to then align it to the job you're asking for. It gives you an opportunity to update your CV. If it's an old CV, it gives you an opportunity to update it. Have you done something recently that you haven't put there? Do you need to remove something and add maybe one of the things that is a requirement? So this CV checklist is something that everybody should have, because it allows you, like I said to you, for that your CV to be relevant to the role, to align very well to the role, and it's for completeness. For those who do not have a CV, like I said, this is where you start to build up your CV, because now you know what the requirement of the role is, and you're trying to do a checklist of the things that you need in that role. Don't forget that this is an introductory session. So I may not go into detail about each of this, but it paints a picture. It gets you ready for that tech role. So what should you have in your CV? What should you have in there? You have your contact details, right? You have your name, you have your mobile number, you have your email, and it's very important if you have a LinkedIn, you put it there. But I would say here, if your LinkedIn is not professionally relevant, then maybe you shouldn't put it yet, because recruiters and hiring managers tend to go to LinkedIn to check you up, to see whether the CV you've sent to them is, aligns with the CV that you're showing on LinkedIn. So it's very, very important for you to ensure that the most updated CV is what's on LinkedIn. Now, you have the personal profile. Some people may call it executive summary. Some people may call it profile. This is where you have to be very, very, it's very, very important. And the analogy I would use here is if your CV is going to be in front of a newspaper, it's going to be the first page in a newspaper, your personal profile should be the headline. This is where a recruiter would think or would decide whether they need to move on with your CV and read the rest or whether to bin it. Do you know, though, that it takes 5 to 20 seconds for a recruiter to either go through your CV and move on or to bin your CV? So you can see how important your CV is because it's your first point of contact, like I said. So your personal profile or executive summary is actually the headline of your CV. Then we'll go to the skills or area of expertise, because when you're applying for tech roles, there are some technical skills that you have to have. And that would be showcased anyway in the job profile that you need to have. So here, this point number 3, where it says the key skills and area of expertise, that's the area that you need to manipulate the content of your CV. So you have a CV already. It has key skills in there. It has both soft and hard skills and technical skills. And then you want to apply for a technical role, for example, and they've asked for particular skills. This is where you manipulate the content of your CV. You need to take out the ones you have and put in the ones that they're asking for, particularly if you have transferable skills. It's very important for you to use this number 3, the key skills or area of expertise, to your advantage. And then selected career highlights and achievement. Over the years, I have sifted hundreds of application and CVs. And I like to see selected career highlights or achievements that is relevant to the role that you're applying for. It's a key thing. If you don't have one, it's not a deal breaker, but if you do have, then showcase it. Why not? And then you have the career summary or career history. That also is very important. If you're applying for an entry tech role and you have a career history, remember, it's an entry tech role. I do not see the reason why you'll have 5 pages of CV. The maximum you should have is 2.5 pages. And experience dating maybe 3 to 5 years. If you're applying for a more senior role, of course, more senior role, director level tech role, then of course they want to see your career history dating back 5 years or more. So be very, very intentional about your career history. And if for any reason you have a career history that relates very closely to the role, but that role, you did it maybe 10 years ago, you can then use a portion of your CV to say other roles and then mention the role title. You don't have to then write everything and then you're having 10 pages or 5 pages. Remember, quite a lot of people are applying for the same role. And like I said, it takes 5 to 20 seconds. You have to make it count. So make sure that you're writing career history that relates very closely to the role that the hiring manager will see worthy. And then you have the education, your professional development, any technical proficiency and training. It's very important for you to put that. And I see now that more so than ever, employers are not so much looking at paper qualification, but experience, skills, and transferable skills. But if they do ask for education, yet again, your CV does not have to stay the same format in terms of your contact details, your key skills, your career summary. If they're very particular about education, guess what? You manipulate the format of your CV. Put your education in front, because if they're saying the key requirement is education, then let them see that. Don't put that in the second page. Let them see what the requirement is. And then your interest, if you're doing any volunteering role, remember, Engineer Pokwala actually spoke about volunteering. For people who really want to go into this tech world, and the training, they say may be expensive, and then volunteer. He said, if you can't spend the money, you have to spend your time. And if you're doing any charitable work, I mean, this number 7 has become, a subject of conversation during interviews. So do put it there. Okay, next slide. So you can see how very important, if you're applying for contracting roles, your CV has to just meet the mark. It has to be something that the hiring manager would be attracted to rather than not be attracted to. We're in the world of technology, right? The next slide is okay. So I'm just kind of giving you a very an example of a good work experience. I've seen work experience in my time where people put a lot of jargon. They exaggerate the fact. It's very important for you to be specific, particularly if you have that experience over a certain number of years. I want you to showcase that. And like I said, the job description would allow you to kind of write your your work experience or your career summary in such a way that it's very attractive, to the hiring manager. And a bad work experience is you worked as a marketing for a few years, or you worked in technology for a few years, did some stuff with websites and social media, managed a team. That, of course, will not sit well with any recruiter or any hiring manager. And that's another good example there. It's so important for you to make sure that your work experience or your career history or summary is detailed. It aligns to the role responsibility, so that at least you're showcasing, what you have. Okay, now this is another essential area, and that's the cover letter. Unless the employer is saying you should not send one, I would always advise that if you're sending your CV, you should attach a cover letter. And I did say here that the cover letter is like a personalized communication that complements your CV by providing context and elaborating on your qualification. It's very important for you to put that cover letter in there, because one, it helps you to explain the gaps, which ordinarily a recruiter or hiring manager will see at a glance that what has happened here. But the cover letter would help you to explain the gaps. It would showcase your interest, because then you would probably have read about the organization. You've taken time to, research them. You're introducing yourself to the hiring manager. Guess what? Your name would stand out. And a lot of times, people, when you see applicants, when you see a job, even though you understand it, you have the experience, you have the skills, I would always recommend that you call the recruiter or you call the hiring manager to talk about the role. The manager will give you an insight into the kind of things that they want this person to have, and it gives you that competitive edge over everybody else. So call the hiring manager, call the recruiter, ask them, what exactly are you looking for in this role? What is it that you haven't put in the job description that you're looking for? That is very key, and not a lot of people do that. You then highlight your fit. Explain how your background, skills, experience make you suitable candidate. You can only do this when you provide a cover letter. It's very, very important for you to do that. Also, it actually demonstrates your communication skills. You may have written in your CV that your key skills is, effective communication skills, or you have stakeholder engagement. But then when you're writing your cover letter, it actually showcases your communication skills. And like I said earlier, it would add context to your CV. I cannot overemphasize the need of a cover letter, particularly when you're applying for tech roles. It's very, very, very key for you to do that. And it has become more so than ever a decision-making tool for hiring managers or for recruiters. When someone has showed their CV and they are very, very experienced, they've said everything they needed to say, the technical skills, everything in that CV. And then you have someone who's sent their CV and a cover letter. That cover letter has been a decision-making tool for the hiring manager. So in conclusion, for the cover letter, I would always encourage, unless otherwise stated, you should send your CV and a cover letter, because it would significantly enhance your application and it would provide a deeper insight into who you are. Okay, now we're getting to the meat of it, right? Interview tips. Now that you have a good CV, you've reviewed your CV, you've aligned it very well with the job description, or some people may call it a job profile. You've highlighted the essential criteria. You have done that. You've highlighted the technical skills. You've kind of provided your transferable skills. Everything is, your format is good. The don'ts of your CV, you haven't put whether you're a Mr. or Mrs. You haven't put religion. Your formatting is, I would always advise Arial 12. You've done everything that you needed to do. Your CV is good. Then, if you're applying for a contracting role, you have to remember that they may not necessarily say you should provide a statement of suitability or a personal statement. You've attached your cover letter, you've sent it, and they've called you for an interview. Now, that is key. It's very important for you, once you have been called for an interview, to check out the panel members. Check them out on LinkedIn, because it would provide you with a clue of what they may ask you. Because check their background, it would give you an idea of the kind of questions that this person would, the kind of technical questions this person would ask you. You need to interview showcase your personality. Yep. Now we do interviews online. Some people still do a face-to-face interview, but it's very, very important for you to show your personality. It's very important for you to make sure that your tech works, your Zoom works. Make sure you log in 10 minutes or 15 minutes before. Ensure that you're positioned properly. And the key thing is make sure you have the conference number. Should, in case your Zoom cuts off, at least you have the conference number to call them back. When you're doing your interview, make sure that you use a lot of I, not we. Even if you have done a project with a group of people, at some point you need to start to say I. What was your contribution? Rather than we. You need to use active language. Investigated, engaged, collaborated is very, very important. And you have to have a good example. If the tech role that you're applying for, they've said the type of role you're going to be doing, make sure you have a good example that can showcase that role, or a good example that shows your transferable skills, that you're able to do that role. You either have to show a technical, a management, or a strategic skills or good example, but make sure you find one. Avoid jargons. You need to speak very clearly and fluently. There is no need for you, when you're having your interviews, to want to speak like an American or to want to speak like, the person you're not. Just be articulate, be clear, and answer the questions, And here, I did say you should ask for reasonable adjustment if you need it. Not a lot of people ask, for reasonable adjustment, but it's very important, for you to ask for reasonable adjustment. And, some people may say, so what is reasonable adjustment? It's just a simple change or modification made by an employer for individuals with disability. So, and it may mean that the disability is not something that they can see, but if, for example, you need to have a pen and a paper to write down your questions, or it would take you time to respond to a question, then please do ask for reasonable adjustment. And then we'll go to the meat. How do I actually articulate these interview questions? It's very important that the STAR technique has always been used. It would always be used and is a way of you structuring your example in such a way that the panel would understand what you're saying. They would take away what they need to take from that example, and they'll be able to score you properly. The STAR technique is, the S is situation. And this is you just explaining the context of your work, where the problem has arisen. That situation should take only 30 to 60 seconds of your answer. So it's just explaining, and you need to choose a very compelling and challenging situation and task that would relate very closely to that role that you're applying for. And the task, the T is the task, is a summary of what you needed to achieve to fix that situation. Now, the most important bit here is the action. It takes almost 80% of what you're going to say. You have to explain the specific steps to fix the situation. You have to choose actions which demonstrate your ability to carry out the role you're applying for. This should be, like I said, the bulk of your answer, because it gives the panelist or the interviewer a sense of how you work. Like I said, you have to focus on what you did. Focus on what you did, not we. Even though you start with a we, because it's a group project, you have to at some point say your contribution to that project. And then, last but by no means the least, you have the result. This is summary of what you have achieved. If you need to use any KPIs, any key performance indicator, please use it. But if you don't have one, don't put any figures there, because they may ask you to justify it. So it's very important for you to give impression or memorable results. And I did say, if you don't have any figures, you may choose to kind of give a feedback of maybe the person who you did the project with, or your line manager or your director, what feedback you were giving and the outcome of that project. Even if it was not positive, you can say what you've learned from it. And another key area here is the value add. That's very important. You need to consider and you need to conclude by describing your value add. Why is it that you are the best person for that job? You need to be confident. You need to be able to say why you are the best person for that job. And when we have the workshop, then we're able to go into more details how you need to do this. Don't forget, this is an introductory session. And then the next slide, I think the interview tips is concluded. And by way of a summary, the job description is key. You need to know yourself. You need to know your skills, your experience, your transferable skills. You need to know the job. Are you able to do it? And if the answer is yes, because you've read the job description, you have not only looked at the salary, then the next thing for you is to get your CV going. Get your CV right. Do a checklist. Confirm you have everything you need. Don't forget, not one CV fit all. You need to align your CV to the tech role that you're applying for. You have to look at the technical skills that they're asking for and ensure that you align that, your CV for completeness, for relevance. And then for those people who don't have a CV and you want to do a tech role, don't forget there's volunteering. There are a lot of courses that you need to, that online courses that you need to, that you can do. And then also, if you want to get into a tech role that, I mean, the salary starts from 60K, then you have to invest. You have to invest in your future, right? So you do all that. And then if for any reason they're asking for any application process, if they're asking for personal statement, the how and the what is very important. If they're asking for statement of suitability, then the how and the what is also important. And then the last stage is the interview, where the key word here is prepare, prepare, and prepare again. And a mock interview is very crucial. If you want to get these tech roles, mock interview is very crucial. Thank you. I'll hand back to Shell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kumbo. You know what? That was really insightful. It's almost like I'm not looking for a role now, but those tips are so interesting that I feel if I had an interview this week, I'm definitely going to get that job. So thank you very much. So everyone, please, if you have questions, I need you to raise your hand, please. And then so just use the raise hand functionality in Zoom. And then we'll bring you on stage to ask whatever question that you have. But I'll start off the Q&A. We have about 20 minutes or so to run through this Q&A. So I'll start off the Q&A with my initial question around transferable skills. There are people who are transitioning, obviously transitioning or trying to transition into a tech role. So their job experiences might not be specific to these technical, to these tech roles. How best, or what's the best strategy to be able to clearly articulate your transferable skills in a way that suits the job that you're applying for?
That's a very good question. And first, I would like to explain what transferable skills mean, because when we get the definition, then we're able to kind of move on to the next question. They are just abilities and competencies that are not specific to a job role or industry that can be transferred across different roles or different industries. And for example, communication skills or leadership skills or technical skills, thinking, critical thinking. If you have those skills, you can transfer it to any role. You may not have done that tech role that you're applying for, but you have the transferable skills because you've used these skills in other roles that would showcase to the hiring manager that you're able to do this role. So we need to understand that it's transferable skills is not something that is a mystery. The minute that you have that ability and that competency, it gives you the leverage to cut across any industry. It gives you the resilience, and it gives you the career mobility to go into other roles. So people don't really they don't understand, or they don't know that they do have transferable skills. But if they understand the definition, then they'll kind of dig deep and know that, yep, I may not have done this this tech role, but guess what? I've done something, that would showcase, if I showcase my transferable skills, I'm able to do it. And we also talked about volunteering, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Is a way of you learning about those essential criteria, those skills that you can leverage when you're filling your form.
Thank you very much. The way I like to describe transferable skills is by using a personal example. When I was a kid, I would get sent to Mushi to go and ground, chin chin, and I will come back home, right? And when I went into the entrepreneurship world, or when I was applying for board seats and things like that, I had to make reference to that experience. Like it's actually an experience, because I get to the market, I have to negotiate price.
That's
I have
right.
to look at logistics and make
Yep.
sure that the product was, transferred back home safe and sound. And then when we start to fry it, I have to, make sure that, it's we have the right oil at home. So that's all sourcing and vendor management. So again, it's always good to know that, we all have a level or a degree of transferable skills.
Yeah.
I was going to ask a question. If you are sort of going for a senior role and you don't feel confident, right, for that particular senior role, because perhaps you have transferable skills, but you don't have 10 years, 15 years of experience. You've not worked with major organizations that can possibly make you stand out. You didn't go to an Ivy League school. So there's certain things within your CV that might not be able to make you jump out immediately. But you are good at what you do, and you feel like you will be able to perform in that role. How do you sort of shoot for those really high roles with, sort of average experience, or maybe just not having the confidence around it?
Engineer Popola actually answered this question last week. The word is self-belief, right? So if for any reason, for all the things that you've mentioned, you don't think you've gone to the right school, you probably do not have enough transferable skills, you can't showcase that you've worked with, major stakeholders, that in itself does not shortlist you down. Because what employer or recruiter wants to look at is what you have presented in front of them, right? Your CV, how you've done it, how you've done the application. But self-belief is also one of them, because before they call you for an interview, you need to prepare. You need to make sure that you've done everything in your power to research the organization. What are the kind of questions they may ask? As long as you have self-belief and you showcase that you are the right person for the job at interview, then I don't see any reason why you shouldn't do it. But I add a caveat. If you know that you may not be able to stand the competition in terms of when you then get the role, you then start to become a bit timid. There's that lack of self-belief, that imposter syndrome. Then you need to just step back a little, apply for the grade below, get into that organization, learn the ropes, have a mentor, sit with your the director or whoever is your line manager, learn the ropes, and then apply. So it's a two-way thing. One, self-belief. I know I can do it. And I can use myself as an example. When I started my role, it was like I started from the entry level, but I was very self-confident. I knew within 3 months I'm going to ask for promotion because I know that I could do it. So that's self-belief. It's not that you're pompous, but it's self-belief. But the minute you think, you know what, if I get into this role, I'm not so sure, that imposter syndrome is setting in, then guess what? Just apply for a grade lower, get in, get all the experience you need, and apply for the more senior role.
Thank you very much for that. That's a really good advice. Just going back to the room, any questions from anyone, please raise your hands. This is a great opportunity for you to ask any, whatever question that is burning, whether it's pre the interview or during the interview, or even post-interview. What are the tips that you need around that as well? So please raise your hands. We only have about 10 minutes left. So don't wait for somebody else to raise their hand before you raise yours. So please do raise your hands and ask questions. One other question, somebody had reached out to me and asked this question before the session started. And they wanted to know what are the questions that you should ask the interviewer to make you stand out in the midst of other candidates?
It's very important for you to think about the questions you're going to ask, because although that wouldn't form part of them either hiring you or not, you have to remember that, but it just makes you stand out. I mean, you can ask for, is there any promotional opportunities? And you can ask, in the next 3 months, what do you expect the person in this role to deliver? It's good for you to ask, because then they see that you're forward thinking. You can ask that. Don't ask about salary, because majority of the job description would have said the minimum to maximum salary. You can negotiate your salary outside the interview space, but those type of questions you can ask. You can ask about the culture. Yeah. I
Okay.
think to mention, yeah.
Okay. So culture, what the expectations are from the hiring manager over the next 3 months. And you said stay away from asking about salary. What about if they ask you, what would you expect as a salary? How do you actually answer that question?
Yeah, because that's another thing you need to think about. If, for example, they've already put their basic salary of maybe minimum to maximum, be confident, ask for as close to maximum as possible. Because I say to myself, what's the worst that can happen? They say they can't offer you that. Do you want to go down a little bit? So if they do ask you, then tell them what your offer is. And when you say what you offer, say that is negotiable.
That's a good tip. That's a really good tip. So make sure that you leave it open and you say, it is negotiable, but never be afraid to ask for the top of the top in that sense. Okay. And in terms of contracts, when people are about to sign contracts, employment contracts, how important is it for them to really look at those employment contracts in terms of their career progression and mobility?
It's very important for any contract that you've been given. If you're not sure, then get someone to read it and explain it to you before you put your pen on it. It's very, very important to read the tiny, prints, like they say. Make sure that you understand, what is the under RI 35? Are you, how much are you getting? How are they doing it? What are the contracting hours? It's very important. I cannot overemphasize that. It is so important for you to understand it, read it before you sign it.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Kumbo. Mr. Olubowale, you have your hands raised. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. And good morning, everyone. Um, Great presentation. Been in the industry for over 30 years. When you listen to these things, you take a snippet away, and that's wonderful. And well done to Tokumbo. My question is, you know, you apply, everything seems onky dory, and then you get rejected. How do you deal with rejection? I think you talked about the self-belief, confidence, etc. But a number
Yeah.
of people I come across, you know, one rejection, it really knocks them down. So how would you deal with that if you were to speak to youth or anyone? Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much, Wally, for that question. And rejection is real. They're young ones that make unsuccessful applications. But what I would say to that young person or to that person who's made an application and they were rejected is first I would ask you to pause for a minute. And then when you've kind of looked at the what you've done, how you've done it, what you could have done better, or even if you thought you did very well, don't forget that rejection doesn't mean that you didn't do well, to be honest with you. Sometimes they have so many applications, so many people applying for the same role as you, and it just means somebody else has done better, right? Doesn't mean that you wouldn't apply for another role in another organization and get it. But for that rejection letter, I would ask you to write back to the organization first to thank them for giving you the opportunity to interview. And then the fact that you've been rejected, although, I mean, it wasn't a pleasant letter, that they should please give you feedback. What you did well, what you could have done better, and if they have other opportunities, they should let you know. Very important for you to do that because whether we like it or not, COVID happened. A lot of people are applying for the same role as you are applying. And there are times that the recruiters or the hiring managers would increase their pass mark because they have so many applications. So the fact that you scored a 4, which is also a pass, just means that they've increased it to a 5 and you've been like, but it's important for you to say to yourself, that's just 1 or 2 rejection. I'm going to go ahead and, apply again and ask for feedback. Very important for you to ask for feedback so that it gives you the opportunity to say, oh, okay, I thought I really did well in this question. Maybe I need to do better. Maybe I need to find a good example. That's what I would tell a young one or anyone. And to be honest with you, I've received a lot of rejection in my time. I didn't give up.
Thank you so much, Miss Shanoa. It's interesting. I have a mentor of mine who has built a startup, sold it for tens of millions, and then he said, "Okay, I don't want to start another business. Let me just take my time and convert my knowledge and do consultancy." He then went to apply to Apple and he got rejected. This is a guy who has built a multi-million business and sold it off multi-million. So it's important not to take rejections personally as well. So thank you very much for that tip. Mr. Laja, I think we can throw you in before we've got 4 more minutes. Please go ahead, sir. You've got your hands raised.
Thank you very much. Okay. Yep. All right. Thank you, Tokumbo, for the very incisive, very in-depth expose that you gave. I mean, even as an old hand in human resources and learning, I have taken a few things. Now, there's my question revolves around calling the hiring manager. In this climb, maybe that's what is operative over there. But in this climb, I've had series of stories of people, doing that and, almost like shooting themselves on the foot by by that because the hiring manager felt, wow, why did you call me? And for that reason, So what would be your advice? Is it training for best practices that we need in this part? Or, somebody has maybe about 500 people. How many of them can call the hiring manager to say, oh, okay, yeah, So how do you respond to that? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Laja. Good question. There's a saying, if you're in Rome, you behave like a Roman, right? So if you're in Nigeria, for example, and that's not the practice for you to call hiring managers, then don't call them if that's the practice. So you're in Rome, you're behaving like a Roman. But for the tech world, for the people who are going to be applying for roles here, the remote roles here, then that's something they can do and they should do. Because what would happen is that they would understand the role better. The hiring manager would tell them something that they probably did not put in the job description. So if the rule over there in Nigeria is do not call the hiring manager, then please do not call them. Just you can actually, if you know someone in the organization that is already working there, if you do know someone who is working in that role or who is working in the role beneath that role, you can say that you're applying for the role and you just want to get an understanding of it. But you need to be careful. You need to be able to be in Rome and behave like a Roman.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for the answer.
Thank you for that. And in addition, if you can't call, send an email. I'm sure you've had correspondence with them at some point. An email wouldn't hurt as well. Any last questions before we close off today's session? All right, Mr. Kumbo, last words for people in terms of, having a career is one of those anxiety-inducing things because you have bills and you've got to get to work, and sometimes it's difficult to get the right job, or you might not feel satisfied with the present role that you have, what job you're currently doing. What are your last words with career, with all your experiences over the years? Give us some wisdom, sort of like tips or last encouragement on this.
Okay, I'm going to have to look at my crystal ball. What I would say to anyone or to you guys is do not stay stagnant. You have to continue to learn. If you're not happy in your role, you need to transition. There's no point you doing a role that you're not happy with. And there are a lot of various recruitment options for you to transition into other roles. Do volunteering, get the experience, but do not be stagnant. And another key thing, you need to look for a mentor, someone who would speak into your life, who would advise you, who would say, this is happening, go there. And also, do not miss the webinars that the professionals are putting together for you. This is the second of many to come. Make sure that you're logging in, you're staying tuned, you're taking notes, and you're putting in practice what we have said. So do not stay stagnant, okay? Just keep applying. Rejection should not stop you. Keep applying and you'll get there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kumbo. Now, we haven't planned the next week's session, but because I have Mr. Olubowale online, I hope you'll be able to do a session on cybersecurity because he's an expert with so many years, and we're talking about tech jobs as well. And I think this, there are a number of people, even my mother recently in her 60s was like, oh, I want to go and do a certification in cyber security. And I'm like, really? Because there are opportunities in that space as well. So, Mr. Olubowale, is that a yes? Because you've unmuted your mic.
It's a yes. I've been speaking to Prince Andu, and just to put in context, cybersecurity. I'm looking forward presenting. Currently, there are over like 5 million jobs in cybersecurity. We talked about AI, blockchain, etc. The opportunity is huge. And just to take something from what Sister Tokumbo said, it's like in tech, you can do things remotely. You don't have to see anyone, just like Engineer Popola said last week as well. So yes, there is a market. You need to channel your direction. You need to have self-confidence. And then, a lot of people have said that, training, mentoring, coaching, and volunteer yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oluboale. So you've heard it. We're going to have Mr. Oluboale here, hopefully next week, Saturday, if not, but definitely this month at some point.
Yeah.
We'll arrange this. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I hope you have a lovely weekend. Mr. Kumboshono, once again, a big, big thank you for those tips. Those will stay with us. People, please connect with her on social media. She did put her number on. If you didn't get it, just reach out to us in the group and we'll send that to you again. And also a reminder, the Nigerian British Business Forum is, the parent organization of this initiative. So if you haven't joined the Nigerian British Business Forum, whether it's the young entrepreneurs or the some more seasoned professional group, go to the website and just put it in there and sign up, and you'll get further information. You can get added to the WhatsApp group as well. So, or personally, if you have my details, reach out to me as well, or reach out to any of the people that you've heard on the platform as well. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean.
Right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you
God
very
bless
much.
you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot.
Talks
Bye.
an amazing
Thank
session.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.